This is the month of February and the third Sunday. February is Black History or African American History Month. And it's truly a time, it's a national time for celebration, of course, of the amazing achievements of African Americans in our society, but also a time to reflect on the continued struggle for racial justice. And so today is a time, because the theme today is higher love, which you read about so beautifully, Martine. It's God's love in us. It's something we are all striving for, working for, continually opening to more and more of. And it's a time for us today, with this topic especially, to think about where in our minds we're going to change some of the old processes, the old thoughts and thinking that have kept us separated. Because people who get that consciousness of higher love, we have a new guest today, and it's the wind. So if it goes really hard, would you just grab a pole, please, but don't fly off. That's my only request. People who really have that consciousness of higher love can raise themselves, lift out of the conditions of the world. They can raise their thoughts, but up and beyond the collective consciousness, and truly live in that space that knows there is inherent goodness in the world always, no matter what else is going on. They can find that heart that wants unity for all. Have you met those people that can keep calm and centered in the face of chaos and hardship and tragedy? Those are the people that have touched that higher love, which we all have. We're all just learning how to live there. And I loved when Elliot sang, did God make us by accident? Well, absolutely not. But this experience of being human, we are not going to be perfect human beings. I don't know about you, but I make a ton of mistakes. I get messy sometimes, once in a while a little dirty, and not just dirty in the dirt. You guys, I have to be really careful what I say around here. I can just feel it. Oh man, but we do. Being human is messy and it's creative, and it's not about falling down and punishing yourself. It's about getting up and forgiving yourself and forgiving people around you. Jesus said, I am in this world, but not of it. And that's the trick. When we can realize these experiences here are precious and important, and therefore are learning, but there is a higher purpose and a higher message. That's the higher love we're talking about. Meister Eckhart, I love this, and I say it often, says the soul has two faces, one that looks down at the world and the five senses, and the other that gazes up at the glory and grace of God. And when we have both faces awake and alive, we can bring that love that is God to this world that we live in. And that's what we're here to do. And that's the mindset of a spiritual giant or a hero. Those spiritual giants and heroes we have on the walls in the sanctuary, they all have the mindset of higher love. They all want unity for all. Now, believe me, their human lives were not perfect. You can dig up dirt and stuff on everybody. But they're there because on the wall, because their main consciousness was to bring love and connection to this world. If we look at Nelson Mandela, born in 1918 in South Africa, and he was born into a country that was mainly black, yet the blacks couldn't vote. It was an all-white government. And he was born into an upscale family, and he became a lawyer. Didn't have interest in politics at first. He did have 3 wives. He got out of an arranged marriage first, so there were actually 4 wives, 2 divorces. But so he was experimenting with relationships. But he went on, after he was a lawyer, he started realizing, there's something more to be done with my life. And he started giving lectures on equality, and he joined African politics to see if he could up-level this all-white government and have some equality in South Africa. Of course, I can't remember what year, and these are probably going to blow away, but he did get arrested in 1964. He got arrested for giving a lecture on equality, and he was given a life sentence in jail. He spent 27 years in jail, but he's on our wall, not because he let that experience overtake him. He's on the wall because he always knew there was something more and something he had to do. And when he got out, 27 years later, whatever that adds up to, 1990 or something, I don't know. But it was because at that time there was pressure, not only just domestically, but internationally, for him to be released, and there was a possibility of a racial civil war. And so the then president, the white president, President S.W. Clerk, freed him. But what Mandela went on to do is he went on to work with de Klerk, and they overthrew the apartheid. And they had in, I can't remember, 1994, I think, an multiracial election, and Nelson Mandela was elected president. Talk about that kind of higher love. And here's a quote from Nelson Mandela. He says, "No one is born hating another person because of the color of their skin or their background or religion. People must learn to hate. And if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. Because love comes so much more naturally to the human heart." That's our lesson for today, is to open our hearts, train our hearts, move our hearts to be more open to that infinite love. Ernest Holmes said there's really only two problems, big problems, with the individuals in our world today. And one is the lack of love, and the other is the lack of the understanding of our interdependence. You know, we are so beautiful as individualized expressions of God. We're uniquely individual, and we're really special. But that doesn't mean we're not interdependent and we don't need each other. We need each other. And if we could learn how to move past that fierce independence and start opening the doors and melting ourselves to be in the flow of life, to be more open and receptive to one another. How do we do that? How do we change ourselves, especially when we come from certain conditions and behaviors and things we're taught? How do we change our minds to have a higher consciousness? Well, what we talk about every single Sunday, and it is our work here as a spiritual community, inside each and every one of us, not some of us, but all of us, there is a greater mind. That mind of God individualized as us. It's in every one of us. And this mind can be accessed and talked to, and it will respond. There is nothing too great or too small for the mind of God. There is no size in the mind of God. It answers whatever we put out there, and it's there for us to use. If we can learn how to listen to the still small voice and be receptive, just open, because we are not always going to get the guidance that we expect or the experiences we expect, but be open and receptive and expand our faith. You know, another person on our wall is Mother Teresa. Isn't she? Wouldn't you just say she is the epitome of love? Yet letters were found from Mother Teresa after she passed, and she actually suffered greatly, really questioning the existence of God and questioning her faith. And she talked about the severe bouts of depression she had. So it's there to show us that we have human experiences, but when we connect with a higher love, we can move past the things that keep us stuck. So today, Martin Luther King said, it's always the right time to do the right thing. Always the right time. And Martin Luther King, boy, was he a major icon in the civil rights movements in the 1960s. He's probably best known for his speech, "I Have a Dream," where he stood on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial and spoke to a crowd of 200,000 people. And he talked about his dream for a country without racial division. And of course he said, I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they're not judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And isn't that what we wish for all of us? Martin Luther King said the first years of his life were pretty darn good. His dad was an American Baptist minister, and he followed in his footsteps. He went to Boston University and got a doctorate degree in theology. His life was easy, fulfilling, until one day he learned about the trials of life. Through a woman he wrote about in his book, Strength to Love. Her name was Rosa Parks. He called her an attractive seamstress who had an impeccable character, who was well respected by the community and loved by all. But her quiet strength made a difference to change the world.
Ordinary day, she'd worked her fingers to the bone, her feet were made of clay. She climbed aboard the crowded bus and found a place to rest. Little did she know she would change the world, putting courage to the test. Once again the driver told her, move to the back. But something in her whispered and stirred a quiet strength, a calm within, the point of no return, where you lose or win, a quiet strength, like coming home. Inside you there's a whisper that stirs, a quiet strength. Would too quickly travel, her story began to grow, and we all came from miles around to see the lady who said no. Use the peaceful power you have, the truth will set you free. Listen to the whispers that stir a quiet strength, a calm within, where you sink or swim and no return, a quiet strength, like coming home. Inside her a whisper that stirred a quiet strength, a calm within, the point of no return, to lose or win, a quiet strength, like coming home. Inside you there's a whisper that stirs a quiet strength. To Rosa.
That quiet strength that Rosa Parks felt. A quiet woman, never raised her voice. When the police said they were going to arrest her, it was like, well, if you must. Who would imagine that a quiet strength like that could make such a difference? Somewhere in our lives, we all hit that place where our cup of endurance for whatever's been going on that maybe insults our dignity or our consciousness of what we know is right, we hit that place and we can no longer keep quiet. And it's something in us that says, I cannot take it anymore. I can't take this anymore because I know things are supposed to be better in whatever situation it is. And that's what I'm going to call us on right now to do in our own lives, is to find a place where you know things could be better, you could be better, you could forgive yourself, you could forgive others, you could love more, you could act differently, you could say the truth, whatever it is, you know there's something more that you could do to make your life and the life of others better. Because this love, this higher love that I'm talking about, is the agape love, the Greek word agape, which is God's love that runs through us. When we're open and available, it's a love that runs through us. We can feel it. We know it's there. And if we allow it to be open and flowing, we can make a difference in our lives, in this world. We can make changes, but we have to have the courage and the strength to say, I'm not going to do this any longer. I'm not going to take this any longer. I'm going to take a step. I'm going to be inspired to do something different. You know, we're the InSpirit community, and we chose the word InSpirit for a purpose and a reason. There is a word InSpirit. It doesn't have a capital S in it, but it's the word InSpirit, meaning you live in spirit. You are guided and directed by spirit in your life. And I'll tell you, when we live in spirit, we are guided to be the opening, the reflection of that higher love. It's Martin Luther King said there's got to be the courage in us to sever the chains of hate. There's got to be that courage, but it can only happen. It can only happen if we're powered in our lives. We send the power of the love in our heart into our lives to guide us, impel us, inspire us, and unite us. It's something we are called to do. So I'm just going to invite you right now, even though the wind is blowing, the cars are driving, the blowers are going, we're just going to know that the power of Spirit is right here. Just join me in this knowing that right where we are, God is in its fullness. There's not a place where the fullness of God does not exist. And right now in this moment, I know for each and every one of us that we open to that power. We allow ourselves to be the vessel and the vehicle to be in the eternal flow of God's grace, of God's love, of God's compassion. Absolutely. We absolutely allow this to be the essence, the vibration of our lives. And we have the courage to set things right, to set things up, to do things better, because we are constantly in the unfoldment, in the process of unfolding the next spiritual evolution for ourselves. And as we do that, we not only uplift ourselves, we're not only lifted up by this power of love, but we lift others. Because it's an energy that is an impulsion for good, an impulsion for connection, and an impulsion for oneness. This is who we are. This is what we're meant to do. There is no accident. We are here together. We are here today. We are sitting in God's love and light and creativity. We say thank you, thank you, thank you for this knowing and this recognition, and we let it go to this infinite mind of goodness, the mind of God, to know that in this moment it is done. We are the vehicle of change, of love, of goodness, and fulfillment. And we seal this by saying together, and so it is. Thank you all for being the good that's happening right here and right now. Together, we're so much stronger than the sum of our parts. I love you all. I appreciate you all. Let yourself be lifted in love today and beyond. And so it is.